In this 10th part, we are going to continue with something that was already pending from the previous week, from the previous conference, which we were going to talk about Reiki. But this week there was news that I wanted to show you here, because you will see that it also, in some way, is related to everything we're talking about, the doors, the gates, and they are not precisely those of the house. Secret meeting places between the Earth and the Sun. The NASA discovers the X points. This is not pornography, hey? Regions of electronic diffusion in which our planet communicates with the Sun's atmosphere at a distance of 93 million kilometers. NASA discovered hidden portals in the Earth's magnetic field, which it called X points. As detailed by experts, these portals are in the vicinity of the planet, and when they open they narrow the communication between the Earth and the Sun. These magnetic fields of the planet are the secret place, where the Earth's magnetic field and the winds recorded by the Sun meet after a solar flare occurs. The lead author of the work, Jack Scudder, has pointed out that the so-called X-points are regions of electronic diffusion where the Earth's magnetic field connects with the Sun's magnetic field, creating an uninterrupted path that goes from the planet to the atmosphere of the Sun, located at a distance of 93 million kilometers. In this sense, the researcher has pointed out that most of the portals are small and short-lived, while others are yawning vastly and steadily. In this way, tons of high-energy particles can flow through the openings, warming the Earth's upper atmosphere, causing geomagnetic storms and igniting bright polar auroras, Scudder noted. The NASA suggests that there are many open magnetic portals close to the Earth and explains that they open and close without warning, invisible and unstable, making them very difficult to find. In fact, the US Space Agency has been working on the search for X-points since 1990, the year in which the Polar spacecraft began working in the Earth's magnetosphere, a mission that's lasted years. The ship encountered many X-points during its stay in space, NASA has indicated, which has specified that the information had not been made public until now. Until now that we are making these conferences, it's curious. Before these results, NASA is planning to carry out a mission that would be launched in 2014 to study this phenomenon. To do this, a probe would be used, which would travel with energetic particle detectors and magnetic sensors through the Earth's magnetosphere and around the enigmatic doors, to observe how they work. Well, you see that NASA has also been behind these things for years, and they are making their discoveries. And they go wanting to, as I would say, try to capture one of these doors, to be able to study everything in detail. Why do you think they do this? Well, because they are interested, and they are also working with what else? With the desire to find something that can also make you pass energy from one place to another through this quickly. Science is looking for what they know and smell that there is. And you already know that normally, on the part of NASA, with logos and so on, the spiritualism sector is also working very well. Let's remember how NASA is also a participant in some gentlemen who were taken from the Second World War, Germans, to the United States. When the war was practically still at its peak, they were taken there at the end as well. And they were people, researchers, who even worked with the V1, the V2, etc., who, if Hitler had had those systems at that time, if they had obtained that weaponry, they would have practically won the war. And they, great brains, worked since then, some of them Jews, of course. We've talked before in the previous conference how they realize that there are Jews with tremendous intellectual capacity. Well, what were these people linked to, right? Well, it's a matter of searching a little for yourself, and you will find information that will surprise you as well. Be that as it may, science is working for these things. And now let's once again pick up where we finished last time. And now we will basically deal with different aspects of Spiritism. You know, normally when we say Spiritism, automatically an image comes to mind that there are people around a round table with a board, and they joined hands, etc., etc. They invoke, and an ethereal being appears there in the middle and tells them a few things, right? Or things similar to that. But Spiritism in general is everything. Everything. And we can say Spiritism, Satanism, etc., etc. Everything has the same connection behind it. Behind it is the fallen angel par excellence, which is Satan. This is like an octopus with many arms, and that plays keys everywhere. But the octopus is the same one. Well, let's go a little deeper, precisely into the topic of Reiki. You know that it is a practice that is being quite widespread, and that people, practically who move in New Age areas, know a lot about it and deal with all of this a lot. Well, we are going to see in their own writings, you see, Times of Change, the New Humanity, we are going to see how they describe the practice of Reiki. And then we will see a little history about this as well. We are not going to read absolutely everything, but rather read what we have marked in red, so that it stands out clearly. After knowing everything we know, after having seen everything we have seen in these 9 previous conferences on this topic, we will immediately understand how what they are telling us has a total connection with the satanic aspect, and they often do not even know it. Let's begin. The most important thing to remember as a Reiki practitioner is that you cannot do anything wrong with Reiki. This is a fundamental basis. Reiki is only used to heal, to do good. If we believe in this premise, we automatically come to think, well then, this can't be something from the evil one. It must be something that comes from good energy, from God. Let's call it whatever we want, but something positive. This is so? Is Satan capable of healing people? Or is he not capable of healing people? That's good, right? Heal people, but if Satan does that, and we already know he does, then does that mean he's good? Obviously not. But through something that is good, such as healing, he manages to take over those people. We are going to see how these concepts said like this, that seem, this cannot be, we will see little by little how it really continues to be that way. Let's look at this box in red. As long as the Reiki energy is not harmful to the client or yourself, and as long as you are not in danger of taking on your client's karma, it is more important to center the earth and bring the white light of love, healing and protection to transmute any negative energy that can surround your client or yourself. Do this while standing at the head of the massage table before beginning your treatment. You see that they have to do something before starting treatment. And you see once again that we talk about energy. Always energy. But you've already seen that it is about bringing the white light of love. Let's see. Can we attract some type of light? Have you tried attracting colored light? And on top of that, to be white? Well, no one has that ability to do it, do they? Or how is that achieved? You see that what they are telling us is that there is a type of energy that does not come from them, does not come from the healer, from the person who does Reiki, but rather attracts a white light. Obviously, this light comes from the outside. Remember what we always said about that energy that flows from an external to an internal. And this internal can take and transmit as a medium. Let's continue reading. Kanji hand positions. Many Reiki practitioners use the Kanji hand positions before giving Reiki treatments. They are an easy way to center the earth and bring in the white light. You see that the earth is always in play, the famous Mother Gaia. While you can use any method you prefer to the center and ground before giving a treatment, it is possible that you want to learn these positions as they are the most beneficial. They know that depending on how they position themselves, depending on how they do, they will have an easier time doing what they are going to do next. In other words, they are preparing to transmit that energy. Look how it continually talks about the center. Why center? Center, balance. You remember a certain very used symbol of yin and yang, that within the yin and within the yang, what is there? A little dot of the opposite color, right? As a way of what? That everything flows and everything good with the bad, the white energy with the black matter, boom, is compensated. Good and evil. There is a balance. Well, let's keep watching. Here you have a certain posture. We are not going to go into details, but we are going to go into this other one. Kanji 2 is used to bring in white light. This is like kanji, except that you bring your index fingers together and join and stretch your middle fingers. Once you form the kanji, raise your hands and arms above your head with your eyes closed and the third finger pointing upwards towards the heavens. Where does the energy come from in this case? Because you see that's preparing like this. Where does it point? Towards the heavens. We automatically think, well, what's in the heavens? There's the divine. What else is in the heavens? What power is there that is not centered on the earth but is above us? Somewhere in the celestial regions. Satan, as the text says. Slowly lower your arms to put your hands in front of your heart center. The heart, something to keep in mind. As you do this, you will experience white light coming down into all of your bodies through your crown chakra. It's impressive. Look how when they talk about chakras, they automatically do so as points of energetic fluid, keys, but you see, you will experience white light. This person is already being used as a medium to receive this light, which automatically, what's going to happen? Then it will be able to be used. Let's continue looking, but we already see that the energy, that light, does not come from oneself, but rather comes thanks to a certain orientation with certain signs. The energy is transmitted. Kanji 3 increases your intuitive abilities. Does it even do this? Start by interlacing your fingers, close them as much as you can so that your hands look like the top and sides of a square. The thumbs should be together and with the back straight. You see that they make a series of symbols, which are like a collection of energy that helps you for certain things. Let's continue looking, but you see, intuitive capabilities. These are not jokes. Kanji 4 opens the doors to other dimensions and realities. Well, with this sign, that is without comment, they open doors to other dimensions and realities. We are seeing that Satan moves through doors. God as well, his angels, but Satan and his angels too. As you can see, they are other doors and other realities, as if there were two parallel worlds which are not seen or touching themselves until certain moments with these when these doors open, once again we are realizing that whoever is acting here is coming from an outside part. In order to fully and appreciate the healing process, it is good to what? To close your eyes and open yourself to experiencing the flow of energy. You close your eyes and automatically, patam, you experience that flow of energy. That flow of energy is not coming from you, because you have closed yourself and have put on a certain posture, but because by doing certain things, you automatically allow that external energy to pass through all the channels that we had mentioned before in previous conferences and helps you to experience that energy. Someone receives a flow of external energy, which is what they are obviously going to use to work with the patient. Let's continue seeing more. Place your hands slightly above the client's eyes. The healing hands should be on the third eye chakra. What was in the third eye? We were watching, right? Where does God communicate? Where does Satan communicate? Through the same place. Because of that spiral shape that exists in our brains, which is known to them as the third eye. But you see, the healing of the hands must be on that chakra. The hands are very important. Very important. What was Jesus doing with his hands? You know, you could find, I suppose, if you searched on the internet, compilations of what Jesus did with his hands. What did he do with his hands? He blessed, he healed, he healed. What do these people do? The same. And basically, when they place their hands precisely on that point, it is the point where all the energy is going to concentrate in an impressive way in your very brain. Who is going to enter with full force in that open door, in that channel that we can tune? If we put ourselves with God, God the Holy Spirit will enter, but if not, who is going to enter? The one that is theoretically going to heal them. And look, and now you will remember what we presented in the previous conference about lizards and the V series. And what did we say that symbol symbolized? Well, look, form a V with your hands on the patient's breastbone. This is the location of the chakra, which is now beginning to open throughout the world. It is called the Unified Trinity Chakra. The shape with the V, logically inverted, is that triangle, that symbol of the Trinity. Of course, there will be people who will say, "Oh, Trinity, therefore those who believe in Trinity have drank from Roman Babylon, from the Roman Catholic Church, and therefore the Trinity is Satanism, paganism, etc., etc." No, no. Satan copies, plagiarizes what is from God. He does not invent anything. He's made his own Trinity. Soon, we will talk in a Bible study about how the divinity of three persons really exists. And the Holy Spirit is not a force. And we are going to demonstrate it with biblical texts, with writings by Ellen White ad nauseum, even with something else. But I already know that later, no matter what we present, people will continue to think what they want to think. But anyway, there, each one with his own conscience and before God. But careful with teaching what is not true, because we must be one in knowledge too, united with God. Let's keep going. They give more explanations. Place your hands in an opal process, V, once again. And it continues with different drawings, different explanations. This is how Reiki works. You've already seen what it is based on. But now I am going to give you a writing that you can simply read at home, I hope. We are only going to touch on some points marked in red, so that we can do a little bit of the history of Reiki, which here is titled Hidden Weapon of the Jesuits. This writing appeared on the Trinity to Earth blog, and I allowed myself to pick it up. I haven't told her, but I guess she won't mind, because it really is a piece of writing that is worth knowing, especially for the people that I know who follow the conferences and are interested in these things. It is extracted from a chapter, The Reiki Hidden Weapon of the Jesuits, from the book Jesuits, and it tells us a little about what happened in Japan many, many years ago. And it tells us, of course, about a very important Jesuit who was the man who received in such a special way how to act with Reiki. The story begins on August the 15th, 1549, not 4 days ago, hey? When Father Francisco Javier landed in Japan, he could have docked earlier, but he wanted to wait for that day that marks not only the date of the Ascension of the Virgin Mary, you see once again, the Virgin Mary, vital in everything. This you have already seen in the conferences, that the apparitions of the Virgin Mary and all that worship is to Lucifer, to Satan, not to the real Virgin Mary, who is dead and buried waiting for the second coming of Christ, like any dead person who is going to be saved, sleeping in unconsciousness. If not also and above all due to the fact that it is the anniversary of the founding of the Company of Jesus by Ignatius of Loyola and 6 of his companions. We will see that this sacred date is also central in the history of Japan. When was the Order of the Company of Jesus established? Linked with whom? With the Virgin Mary. Connection with whom, in truth? With Satan. Here it is making history. We will skip a bit, but we'll go to another point. Below he tells us, it will finally be between 1914 and 1920, when, according to the different fables told in Reiki seminars, when the Jesuit in question received enlightenment after meditating for 21 days on the top of a sacred mountain in Japan, this is the Jesuit in question, he sees a large white shape descend above him. You remember the white light energy thing before, right? The Reiki symbols appear before his eyes. Does it remind you of anything about Constantine, that a sign also appeared to him in the heavens before a battle? Once again, huh? And from then on, he will have the gift of miraculously healing people and transmitting that power through a totally paranormal thing. Below, it tells us we have a first answer in the etymology of the word Reiki. While it is evident that the word here means energy, qi in Chinese, Westerners usually translate Rei as spirit, thus concluding that Reiki means spiritual energy. It isn't a cosmic energy of matter, things that's maybe in the cosmos and that's it. No. Spiritual energy. But in reality, the word Rei, spirit, does not refer to our spiritual gifts, but to what are usually called ghosts, spirits. It is therefore the energy of the deceased which is used to carry out the miracles of Reiki. Where does it all take us? To Spiritism. Who does that energy theoretically come from? Through the dead. Do the dead transmit that to you? If you see the two themes that we presented very recently about what happens after death, we will realize that biblically this is impossible. The dead do not transmit anything to you. At most, a whiff when they die, nothing more. Therefore, no energies, no dead people, which help us to have a special energy to perform miracles. This, gentlemen, is called spiritualism, as has been the case throughout the history of humanity, whatever name they give it. Well, let's continue. Here you have the entire article. It is interesting. And look at this. Just as the Illuminati, an order founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, are persecuted in Bavaria, they swear the total destruction of Germany, which they will obtain in 1945 after 2 centuries of struggle. 10 million Germans will appear on this front. And when the Jesuits are expelled from Japan, because you see that they were expelled from lots of places, why would it be? It was not enough for them to move 2 centuries later and put the emperor under control. They will need complete revenge. For this reason, the second atomic bomb, a bomb with no strategic usefulness at a military level, falls on Nagasaki, the Jesuit fiefdom, from where they were expelled. A coincidence, of course. 150,000 of Japanese had to pay with their lives. Is it also a coincidence that Japan surrendered on August 15th of 1945, and that day has always been celebrated in the West as the day of victory over Japan? August the 15th, here it is said the mother of God of August. Festivity, eh? What things. Then here you have a list of the memory of the events in Japan which took place on August 15th. In 1549, Saint Francis Xavier disembarks on the coast of Kagoshima in Japan. In 1863, the bombing of Kagoshima, the English attacked Japan, followed by an offensive by the samurai. In 1869, the Emperor Meiji established 6 new ministries, among which he decided to dedicate one to state Shintoism. 1945, Japan surrenders after having received 2 atomic bombs, of which one on August 9th in Nagasaki. The first was dropped on August 6th in 1945. 6 plus 9, 15. And a lesser-known date, you already know that 6 and 9 are reflex numbers. For them, that is extremely important, because it also has to do with the issue of opening doors and so on. And also, but nevertheless fundamental, is in the history of Japan, August the 15th, 1865, the birth of Mikao Usui. And you will, if you see this article, you'll see exactly who he is and what he does. Chance or coincidence, or the sign that perhaps the mythical Usui has never existed, but is nothing more than a Jesuit construction? Other events with strong Jesuit consonances. 1537, the city of Asunción in Paraguay was founded. The Jesuits experimented with their system of reductionism. In 1947, India achieves independence. India is the first country the Jesuits entered. Everything always coincides on August 15th, remember. 1954, Alfredo Stroessner begins his dictatorship in Paraguay. 1960, independence of the Congo. The Congo is the first African country that the Jesuits entered. 1963, the president of the Congo, Fulbert Yolo, is overthrown after 3 days of demonstrations in the capital. 1965, the Beatles play before 60,000 fans at Shea Stadium in New York, an event considered the beginning of stadium rock. 1969, the Woodstock Festival begins, right? 1971, Richard Nixon annuls the convertibility of the dollar into gold, opening a new era for the world economy, and the problems that all this has brought, hey? 1977, a radio telescope in the United States as part of the SETI research program receives a radio signal from deep space. Extract from the Jesuit dossier. Well, if anyone still has doubts about where all this comes from, thank God that there are several people who have written to me that they have realized where they were, and some of them were Reiki masters. And thank God they have turned away from this, because they have realized where all this power really comes from. And now, precisely, we will read a personal testimony received from here in Spain that I would like you not to lose attention to. You know, recently, there was a person who spoke to me about a new method, theoretically, that has been working for a while, but that is growing. It is spreading more and more in an amazing way, which is also being taught in hospitals. I received the information from Valencia. I thank that person who told me all this. I was unaware of this system. And we showed some images precisely of a lady who taught this method, and that behind her appeared the famous little triangle, for a change, with which it was easy to start relating the issues, eh? Well, another person has written to me that when he saw those images, he already began to remember something with which he had also been affected by. And we are going to read his personal testimony. Don't miss it. Hello, I just saw your last conference. You stated that you're going to talk about Reiki. I wanted to talk to you about another very similar therapy that is much more dangerous and that is spreading like wildfire. Here in Spain, it was started in Barcelona by a certain Curtis Cow. You can search for information on the internet about this person. He will not leave you indifferent. But a person very close to him is continuing with this. This is his website. Remember, we showed something about Susan Powell? Well, go back some conferences and you will see. Many people are following this lady, Susan Powell. Yes, a lot. Before, the all-seeing eye appeared on their website in this therapy, which we show here. In this therapy, you are encouraged to invoke the dead. If before we have seen where the energy comes from, theoretically from Reiki, you see here directly, bam, invoke the dead. You'll see later. In addition, it is almost miraculous because anyone who receives it is immediately relieved in no more than 5 minutes. Not like with Reiki, which is slower. Even if you apply it to a heart attack, the person is revived and you just have to breathe and put your hand on them, nothing more. I know because I've done it. He has done it. People are amazed. I attended his courses and of course, I saw it. It is something satanic. Of course, I stopped practicing it. Thank God. There is something prepared in the courses and people don't know it. I realized this by talking to a friend who took the course in a different city, all geared toward catching people. They also force you to do daily meditation with a minimum of 5 minutes and a maximum of 30. We've already seen that before. They also prepare themselves for Reiki in a special way. There is always a previous phase, right? From a contact with something else outside of yourself. And you see things. In class, I saw a dragon coming out of the ground and I stopped meditating immediately. And this lady warns you that the room where she teaches the courses gets full of entities. Oh my. And, well, of course, you can say, well, the thing is that these two were sick in the head. But, you know, I remember a person I had at my gym who was doing yoga. Yoga. And he was a complete atheist. He didn't believe in anything. And he started doing yoga because he had a tension in his life, etc., etc., that he wanted to get well. Okay. I told him, haven't you seen anything strange? Because you don't believe in anything. Or when I talked to him about the gospel, he told me, well, yes, you're saying, yes, but I don't know. I don't believe in anything. He closed up like this, in this way. I told him, haven't you seen anything? He told me, yes. I have also seen something while meditating, and I have become afraid of the things I saw. And he did not even want to tell me what he saw. And have you been the only one? I asked. No, I haven't been the only one, because I have had classmates in the yoga room who were also seeing strange things. Well, this is all part of the same game. Do you realize how there can be many different keys, but in the end everything goes to the same thing? Let's continue seeing what he tells us here. She is very strict and knows how to dazzle people. I am sending you the brochure that they send to you in the mail, which of course is prohibited from showing it to anyone who has not taken the course. Well, here we haven't done it, but we're going to show it. Well, hope this can help you. This therapy is called Zen healing. I was fully immersed in this world, although God always warned me, even in dreams. But anyway, I was so immersed that I didn't even believe in my own dreams. You know, God speaks, God speaks. He did it with the people in the past. We see it in the Bible, and He continues to do it even now to lead people out of error. Look at the brochure I sent you. The story of the founding master comes out, the biography. A guy called Dasira Narada, who has since passed away. Well, read it and you will see that on the second page they encourage you to invoke him. Then we'll see. Ask him for help for everything. As for Reiki, you will know that the founder is called Master Ushui or something like that. His biography is on the internet. He was a soldier in Japan. He discovered this technique in meditations and committed suicide with it. The most terrible thing is that this technique also serves to kill, because you apply it to someone who is very sick and they die. That's what they explained to us in Reiki, but they didn't give it us in writing. Quite something, hey? Well, here is Susan Powell, and also the Om sign appears on the page. Well, you understand what I mean, which we've already talked about here. Well, look at that brochure. Zen Healing, second level. Review of the founder. I'm going to introduce you to the founder of teaching. He is not a monk, he is not a Buddhist. He was a government worker in Sri Lanka. He lived between 1846 and 1924. We don't even know his name. We only know that it was typical in his country that when a person retired, they withdrew from society. When they retired from society, they dressed in a kind of sheet that's wrapped around their bodies. He has a small bag hanging on one side to put the alms he received, which were in the form of food. Just in this way, it was recognized that he was a person who had withdrawn from society to lead a contemplative, meditative life. They are not religious, even if it has this image of a Tibetan Buddha. I don't know if you see the water lily in the drawing. You already know that it is also related to dimensional doors for them. And also a halo in his head. Curious, eh? Like who? How do Catholics paint their saints and virgins and so on? In the same, The same way. And emitting a light all over him. Curious. Let's continue reading. He, through his meditations, his reflections, and his retreats, he discovered the way to channel energy through our chakras to transport it to our organs, to our system in the body throughout the entire organism. He began to impart this information to people who were close to him. This teaching became a kind of oral tradition. It went from teacher to disciple. At that time, people did not have a great need for this type of teaching, but it was transmitted orally anyway. It came from the East to the United States. Look where these things always come from. Have you noticed? From the East. We already saw that in the East, what is there basically? The dragon. Its great symbol, Satan. Pure spiritism. Then he came to Europe, and then he went to South America. Teaching has always been given orally. There is nothing written about teaching because that form of transmission has to be respected. There are no miracles to speak of. Each one will discover and do their own miracles through the ability. They gave it this name due to the great success of the technique. In his country, it was customary to give honorific names, and they gave him a very common name of honorifics, which was Dasira Narada, which means what is in the sky, what is on the earth. They come together as one, and when they rotate, they become one. They turn into nothing. Philosophical, hey? It's curious what they are telling us with this message. What is in heaven, what is on earth are united into one, bringing heaven to earth divine, having nothing, and when it turns, it becomes nothing. What is there in the sky? Cosmic energy. What is there on earth? Us. When it spins, what does it spin? The chakras. What is it that spins? Says turn, turn, turn. Round. Do you remember everything we've been talking about? The dimensional doors? What that axis is like? Always it is spiral, circular. True? Yes, of course, the mandalas. Always the same thing. Always. So through the chakras, we unite heaven and earth. And when it spins, it becomes nothing. Unity. I am nothing. When I receive layers of energy, my chakras spin. I become nothing. I am nothing. I am an instrument and nothing more. Of course, he is an instrument, and definitely. There is no need to say, look what I do. I don't do anything. I just put my conscience. My ego goes down. They subordinate themselves to such a point that you see as similar to what? The Christianity? Daniel, when he interpreted the king's dream, what did he say? It was, oh, I'm very clever. No, he said exactly the same thing. He, nothing. God. Right? Once again, Satan plagiarizes exactly the same thing. But of course it takes it to its side, to his side. I also remember you of the symbol of yin and yang. This symbol, when it spins, disappears. It becomes nothing. Have you tried it? Well, nothing. Put something like that on a stick, spin it around, and phoop, you don't see anything. The symbol means balance. In yin is the seed of yang. This little dot in the middle here, which looks like a drop, right? And here, the other way round. And in yang is the seed of yin. In evil is the seed of good, and in good is the seed of evil. I don't know if you realize the satanic confusion that appears in this phrase. Is the seed of good in evil? I mean, who do we say has evil in him? In whom does it originate? The Bible tells us, in Satan. Does it say that in him is the seed of good? There is no longer a seed of good in Satan. He has completely rejected it. There is no seed of good. And in good is the seed of evil. What does this mean? Where did Satan come from? Who created him? God. So, was it God who planted the seed of evil in him? No. It was born in him. Do you realize the subtle deception? Therefore, we should never judge what is good or what is bad. What is good for one is bad for the other. Brilliant. Brilliant. If this is true, God's law can be trashed. Because everything is what? Well, poof, it depends. Everything depends. It's relative. You see? Satan always has one goal in mind: to destroy God's law. If you destroy the law of God, you destroy his character. Therefore, you destroy any person who seeks to have the character of God, keeping his law, which is the reflection of his character. Do you remember when the Bible said, "And they will say to evil good, and to good evil"? Here it is. When we have the bad in front of us, it is the stimulus to cause something good and vice versa. What a good excuse. What a good excuse. This is the story of Dasariya Narada, the founder of our teaching. That is why I present him to you out of respect and gratitude for what he gave us. He is a very close person. If you need help, you ask the founder. But if he's dead, am I going to go to a grave and tell him, "Hey, I need help"? Well, yes. They will not go to the grave, but that is what they are doing. They invoke him. He doesn't need titles. He doesn't need names. He doesn't need an altar. He doesn't need anything. But know that he is there to help. If you need help to clear your mind for meditation, to have confidence to do the practice, ask the founder to help you. Leave your mind blank. What does Satan always want? That we have a blank mind. For what? The mind must always be busy. It can never stop. That is why in the Eastern world and in these techniques, there is so much talk about meditation, the blank mind. This is not authentic meditation. Meditation is getting closer to God and thinking, what am I doing to be able to change and unite more with God? Not leaving myself blank for someone to come in and dominate me. That is the meditation that Satan seeks to take possession of people and act through them. Well, you see what things appear, right? Once again, later, of course, he starts talking to us about chakras. When I hear chakras, the truth is that my stomach turns, because I don't like these satanic words at all. But, well, they know that there are points of vital energies. They have studied the body a lot, and Satan has known how to transmit it very well. Also, his knowledge, since hundreds and thousands of years ago. And they know that certain things, which are what they are, used by satanic power, can do great miracles and heal people. This is not going to end here. We will see later parts related to the true, authentic things of God, where we will see why all these things, these systems serve to heal and how they do it, how they achieve it. But anyway, I'm going to skip all this and look at this part. Matthew chapter 8, verses 5 to 10. A biblical story. And when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him, and saying, Lord, my servant lies at home sick, a paralytic, grievously tormented. And Jesus said unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this man, Go, and he goes, and to another, Come, and he comes, and to my servant, Do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And what does this have to do with it? Well, now we will see it. The Desire of Ages, written by Ellen White. It tells us precisely about that story of the centurion. He is speaking and saying, But pressed by the multitude, he advanced slowly. The news of his coming preceded him, and the centurion, in his self-distrust, sent him the message, Lord, trouble not thyself, for I am not worthy that thou shouldest enter under my roof. Distrusting oneself above all humility, realizing that not even he is worthy of anything before God. But the Saviour kept on his way, and the centurion, venturing at last to approach him, completed the message, saying, Neither thought I myself worthy to come unto thee, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this man, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. As I represent the power of Rome, and my soldiers recognize my authority as supreme, so dost thou represent the power of the infinite God, and all created things obey thy word. This is what he felt. That's why he said those words to him. Thou canst command the disease to depart, and it shall obey thee. Thou canst summon the heavenly messengers. Who are they? The angels. And they shall impart healing virtue. Who are going to impart? The angels are the ones who are going to heal. It was not Jesus directly with his divine power, because he could not use his divine power. Otherwise, Satan would have won. He depended on God the Father to do all things and to be our example. Those who acted were the heavenly messengers. Do you understand? When Jesus heard these things, he marveled at him, and turned him about, and said unto the people that followed him, I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And to the centurion he said, As thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the selfsame hour. Did Jesus heal him from where he was? Jesus had a problem. He had assumed a human body. Therefore, he did not have the power to be in different places, as Father Pius, or Padre Pio, apparently seems to have done, and quite a few more, hey? What things, right? And Jesus did not do it. But Jesus counted on someone. It was the angels that he himself had created before being incarnated, many years ago in eternity. And they are the ones who did the work of healing people. He said it. He asked for it, and they evidently did it. Why? Because Jesus had not sinned, and was God, and was united with God. Therefore they obeyed him. Who is the commander of the angelic hosts? Christ. To whom did Christ later delegate that command over the angels? To the Holy Spirit, when he left. And the angels continue to act by order of the Holy Spirit. The Jewish elders who recommended the centurion to Christ had shown how far they were from possessing the spirit of the gospel. They did not recognize that our great need is our only claim on God's mercy. In their self-righteousness, they commended the centurion because of the favor he had shown to our nation, to the people of Israel. But the centurion said of himself, I am not worthy. His heart had been touched by the grace of Christ. He saw his own unworthiness, yet he feared not to ask help. He trusted not to his own goodness. His argument was his great need. His faith took hold upon Christ in his true character. He did not believe in him merely as a worker of miracles, but as the friend and Saviour of mankind. It is thus that every sinner may come to Christ, not by works of righteousness which we have done, but according to his mercy he saved us. Everything we do is of no use. It is because he wants to, because he has mercy on us. When Satan tells you that you are a sinner and cannot hope to receive blessing from God, tell him that Christ came into the world to save sinners. I don't know if you see something here that automatically slaps Orientalist beliefs in the face. Let's tell him that Christ came into the world to save sinners. If I believe in reincarnation, where do I put Christ? Where do I put the death of Jesus for my salvation? Do you understand why Satan invented reincarnation and invented cosmic forces and I don't know how many other stories? That is why, so that we leave Christ aside. We have nothing to recommend us to God. That's the important part. We have nothing to recommend us to God. We can do great works, great donations, whatever we want. Nothing recommends us to God because we are all sinners. He does everything for us out of mercy. Let's now read The Desire of Ages, page 143. The angels of God are ever passing from earth to heaven and from heaven to earth. Does this remind you of anything? The famous Jacob's ladder. The angels went up and down and up there. We've seen that cosmic door, right? The miracles of Christ for the afflicted and suffering were wrought by the power of God through the ministration of the angels. What things, eh? And it is through Christ, by the ministration of his heavenly messengers, that every blessing comes from God to us. How does he act then? If Jesus has already left and the Holy Spirit is the one who is with us, the other comforter, does he act directly within us? He acts, yes, indirectly because he uses the angels. This is how the Spirit of God acts in us, through the angels who minister on our behalf. But of course, I don't know if you realize, if Satan knows that this is so, what is he going to do? What was he going to do? Doesn't he always copy what is from God? If healing comes through the heavenly messengers who are the angels of God, through whom is he going to interfere with that or give that healing? Through his angels too, the fallen angels. The system works exactly the same. Obviously, the end of all this varies, but it's the same thing. It works the same in practically everything. In taking upon himself humanity, our Saviour unites his interests with those of the fallen sons and daughters of Adam, while through his divinity he grasps the throne of God, and thus Christ is the medium of communication of men with God and of God with men. He is our bridge. He is the one who opens that access door so that the angels can continue coming from there to here and from here back there, all to help us and help us in everything. Do you see how everything goes together? Those dimensional gates, how God works? But, as you see, Satan's plagiarism. Look what appears in a book that after a while you're going to say it's an advertisement for another book that appears within a book. The gift of healing. Learn to use your own healing energies, which we have already seen is not really our own, but come from outside. Look at what a curious cover, right? So well thought out. Two open hands in the shape of a what? A V. And these little circles is the energy. The energy in the form of little circles. The powers, hey? There is a creative energy in the universe that anyone can learn to perceive and use for healing purposes. Well, this complete healing manual is an eminently practical book that describes various techniques and instructions to perceive and use healing energies. How to heal from a distance or absent people. Wow. You know, I remember when I was a child, I must have been approximately 5 years old, 6. That's in the street where I played, where we lived. That's before you could play in the street. How time has changed. It turns out that there was a lady who made good friendship with us, and that lady was also a spiritualist. Yes, she was a spiritualist. She was the grandmother of a friend of our family who played with me. We were practically the same age, and that lady was always very attentive to me, because, well, I also respected her too. And she became a good friend of mine, and one day she made me come to her house. She lived on the ground floor of the house, and I remember that when I entered, the thing is, I should have been like 5, 6 years old. I remember that there were some books there, some things that, when I saw it, it scared me when I saw them. And I remember that I was 5 or 6 years old. The titles that I read left there were like, ooh. Also, in that house, in her house, there was that kind of feeling of strange vibe. Do you understand? You understand me, those of you that have ever been involved in these things. Well, I remember that one day, I don't know what I caught as a child, those things as a child that's happened, and it caught me with my mother one day. Well, I should be in bed, I guess. My mother came home one day and commented to my father, look, Mrs. Something asked us for a photograph of the child because she says she is going to heal him. She's going to cure him. Like this. And my mother was very displeased with that, because she had already had experiences with her mother-in-law, that is, my father's mother, who had consulted mediums, and she was half into spiritism, which also led her at certain moments of some problems that's happened in the family, with deaths in the war, etc., etc. And my mother never liked that at all, and she didn't want to give her that photograph. And I thank my mother, because she already had the discernment, without knowing all these things, not to do it. But they already used that system, and this lady was a spiritualist. And I know it for a fact, because her family continued to openly tell me so later when I grew up. Healing from a distance. That is not a human power. There are some angels who do that, but are they those of God or are they those of Satan? Be careful, because we will see that when a person puts themselves in the hands of these powers, it can either be very good if it is from God, or you can end up in the hands of Satan and have serious problems when you want to go over to God's side, because Satan does not let you leave. You've opened the door, do you understand? How to use crystals, magnets, stones and colors in healing. You did notice that last week we showed all these little things that these people use, right? How to charge yourself with energy and become a means of channeling to pass energy to other people. They are recognizing that they are channelers, they are mediums. Past life healing and the effect of past life relationships on present lives. What do they refer to? To reincarnation. Well, energies that heal. The gift of healing is in your hands. Develop your healing energies, your own healing energies. New Age. Not only New Age is this, you see that these therapies are being applied, and not only a New Age issue. Well, this is what many people every day are falling into. Every day, people in industrial quantities are falling into the hands of Satan. Some of them, you see, that they are coming out, thank God. They have realized things. It means that we should speak clearer and louder and more powerfully, arguing so that they realize that these things are not jokes. And here you have where all that appeared. Well, almost nothing. Does The Secret sound familiar to you? A few years ago, a book called The Secret sold like hotcakes, and it was also made into a movie. Yes, there were many people who bought that book, yes. Some people showed it to me, and they were excited. They were some girls who were excited because through The Secret they could obtain, wow, what things they could obtain. Of course, why were they excited? Because they had already been interested in these healing methods and these little things. Therefore, it was easier to enter everything into the same world, the same game. What is the secret? But what is the secret? What is the secret? You see that there is everything, huh? Secrets, online courses, store, everything. A business too, of course. Of course. The secret is fundamentally based on something known as the law of attraction, which consists of the idea that people attract all the good or bad things that we experience. Jesus said, do you remember? All that a man sows, that he will also reap. That can sometimes happen in this life, but that can sometimes be determined and developed when it's all over, when God gives the reward for what you've done and everything that goes with it, right? They apply everything now. Everything. The secret. Everything that is coming into your life, you are attracting into your life, and you are attracting it to you by virtue of the images that you keep in your mind. Do you realize? Images that you keep in your mind. How does Satan work? Giving you things here, because he knows that here is the key to everything. It's what you're thinking. Whatever's on your mind, you're attracting it to you. With this, automatically, what do people think? I want to attract what? Money, cash. If I have money, I have everything. This is the great concept of society. What else can I attract to myself? Well, look, I like that girl. Hey. Well, I'm going to try to attract her. If I think about her a lot, if I follow these methods, then I'll have her. What do magic rituals do? You know it? When they also invoke for love? I have known people who have had serious problems in their marriage to the point of losing their partner. I'm not talking about myself in this case, but that's thanks to having been in the hands of matters, of asking witches and others to do spiritual mediation so that such person would fall in love with another person, and for something to happen to that other person, and so, and all of this occurred. I've already met quite a few people like that, and it may be that one deceives me and tells me a lie, but that so many have lived that experience, there is something there. Satan always works in ways in which he intervenes directly with his fallen angels to make people, if they open that gate, lose their minds. They lose their minds. The secret is developed through that fundamental idea, the law of attraction. Some important ideas are the following. The secret gives you everything you want: happiness, health, and wealth. What else do you want? Happiness, health, and wealth. Allah. That's it. We can achieve everything. We are practically gods. Do you understand? When I looked at this book, when I was able to look through it, I saw that it was written in different sections by different people who, when they also put their resume there, you know the word that I used, I was amazed. I was amazed because everyone was focused on things in this sector that we are denouncing. Spiritualism. In one way or another, painted more pink or blue, it is the same. Doesn't matter, everything was the same. And of course, if these people who had been so successful said it, well, it must be true, right? They thought. You can have, do, or be anything you want. You see that they are phrases from different ones of them. We can have everything we choose, no matter how big it is. What kind of house do you want to live in? What kind of business do you want to have? Do you want to achieve greater success? What do you really want? They give you everything, right? You're selling your soul to the devil in exchange for this. Do you understand? What did Satan say to Jesus in the temptations? All this I will give you if you fall down and worship me. What does Satan look for in people? Your adoration. If necessary, he will give you everything. Sell your soul to the devil. This is the great secret of life. Human beings function in a similar way to enormous, attention now, transmitting antennas, sending and receiving various messages to the universe, so that depending on the frequency to which we tune in are the type of things we will receive. For example, by tuning our thinking into ideas about wealth, we will eventually receive wealth. Everything vibrates, huh? We'll talk about that maybe for a while too. Thoughts becoming things. Well, be careful what you think. Be careful what you think. The secret works in a very similar way to the famous Aladdin's lamp. Wow, what a bargain. You just have to ask the universe for everything you want and it will grant it to you. It says to ask God, right? Well, the biblical text tells me, ask for everything in the name of who? Of Jesus. And in my name, said Jesus, and the Father, he will grant it to you, only if you have faith like a mustard seed. You see the application of Satan, practically it is the same. Well, nothing. Look for an Aladdin's lamp, which is a bargain. The universe does not understand negotiations, so you should not ask the universe for things like, I don't want to get sick, since by ignoring the denials, the universe would end up understanding I want to get sick. Well, my goodness. Which is, of course, exactly opposite to your wish. Better not ask it that I want to live, it might send me to death. This is the problem. Most people are thinking about what they don't want and wondering why this comes up again and again. Look how things change. Normally God gives us tests in our lives because if we fall, he repeats them to us so that we can overcome them. Okay? Why is it said that man is the animal that stumbles twice over the same stone, and two and many more? All of us. I believe that no one can escape from that because we are that stupid. And instead here, what they are telling us, what is it? Well, you see, truly everything is very subtle. Everything goes through, wow, how does it enter us, right? It's nice to read this. When you read this, are they messing with you? As they say here, is it telling you that you must have a character, a good character, that you must be like Christ, etc., that you must seek salvation and you must work for it too? Not only, well, I believe and that's it. Yes, believing is important, but you have to move. No. Here you see it. Satan puts everything on a plate for you. When God gives us tests to overcome, we cannot do it alone by ourselves because we fall. How many times do we fall into the same thing? Who among us has not fallen into the same thing 80,000 times? We all have those bad tendencies, right? How many times after screwing up again do you say, Lord, I have fallen into the same thing again? And that's when Satan says, you no longer have a solution. No, leave it. You can pray that he won't listen to you. Don't you see that you knew you were going to do this and you've fallen again? Well, God is not going to forgive you. That is the thoughts that Satan puts in us believers, right? But God allows us to repeat the tests until we overcome them, so that we can perfect ourselves. Here, things, well, no, it is due to other circumstances, as you can see. The transformation of thoughts into tangible things is one of the main foundations of the law of attraction and the secret. Creation is always happening. Every time an individual has a thought, a chronic, prolonged form of thinking, they are in a process of creation. Something will manifest through these thoughts. He is like a transmission tower, once again, Transmitting a frequency with their thoughts. If you want to change anything in your life, change this frequency by changing your thoughts. The frequencies, hey? Once again. Your current thoughts are creating your future. Here is the cover of the little book, etc., and it gives us a synopsis. The Secret by Rhonda Byrne is one of the most desired books of recent times, as it is about how to build a full, abundant and happy life. Highly coveted, hidden, lost, stolen and bought for large sums of money, it has been passed down through the ages. You remember that the previous week, if I remember correctly, in one of the topics we showed that someone wanted to buy the gift of the Holy Spirit, a certain magician, a wizard, do you remember? And the apostle says that he would go very badly if he did that, because it does not work that way. And he told him that as long as you don't change, you won't end up well. In other words, of course. Well, here you see everything is transmitted from different eras, but everything is occult, is hidden and such, and with money you want to buy it. This ancient secret has been known to some of the most prominent figures in history. Plato, Galileo, Beethoven, Edison, Carnegie, Einstein. Who is it talking about here? Quite some characters, right? And you just have to search a little on many of them to see what they were linked to. As well as many other inventors, scientifics, theologians, and great thinkers. Now, the secret is revealed to the world. As you read and learn the secret, you will discover how you can have, be, or do anything you want. You will know who you really are. Don't you know who you really are yet? Well, you have a problem, huh? You will know the true splendor that awaits you. From the prologue, the great secret has always been present in a fragmented way in oral traditions, in religions, and in the different philosophies of all times. For the first time, all of those components have come together in one incredible revelation. You see? Revelation, hey? This is like the apocalypse. A revelation which will transform the life of everyone who experiences it. In this book, you will learn to use the secret in all aspects of life. Money, health, relationships, happiness, and in all these interactions with the world, you will begin to understand the hidden and untapped power that lies within you. This revelation will bring you happiness in all areas of your life. How well does Satan play, hey? How does he know how to give you a perfectly wrapped candy that has its worst poison inside? But of course, it's attractive, right? Who doesn't want all this in their life? Well, look now. St. John's Eve, for the traditions of the purifying fire. You know, that is what is celebrated on the night of the June 23rd to the 24th, when those big bonfires are made, where many firecrackers are thrown, many rockets and so on, fireworks. Look here on this 20-minute article, the photo of Alicante appeared here in Spain. The night of June the 23rd is one of the most magical dates in the almanac. In Alicante, San Juan shapes the city's official festivals. In Punta de Hidalgo, the people from Tenerife celebrate their San Juanito. For the Galicians, it is an open door to the world of Eilen, which means beyond. Oh well, in truth, everything else is part of the same thing. The thing is that the Galicians who are interested in those things, well, not all Galicians, obviously, they have it clear that it is an open door to the world of beyond. Whose world, then? Of God? What is there in the afterlife for beliefs that are not authentic Christians? Because the majority of Christians believe that the dead, you know, that they swarm around there or something. Well, it's talking about demons. It's a gate. When the days were getting shorter, it was believed that the sun would not recover its full splendor. For this reason, the ancestor paid tribute to the sun with fire, around which rituals of all kinds were celebrated to restore its energy. To the sun, who appropriated that emblem? Who appropriated it? Satan. Well, you see, everything was, in truth, an opening for demons to enter and do their thing among the fire. What was done in these rituals? What was burning? Well, it's better not to think about what was originally burned, right? Better not to think about it. But of course, this is what Satan likes. It's his environment. And the people continue celebrating. Come on, St. John, come on once again. Well, you see where everything really comes from. The Galicians say that on St. John's Day, there is an open door to the world of Aelen, the world beyond, with the earthly present, and therefore the ideal moment to get rid of evil spirits. In truth, it's precisely the opposite, what is done, hey? It is when they are called the most. On St. John's Day, well, this is in Galician, the magas and bruxas fugirán, meaning the mages and witches will flee. The bonfires are lit after midnight, already arriving on the 24th. These fires are attributed powers of protection and good fortune. To be a beneficiary of these virtues, the ritual requires jumping over the bonfire a certain number of times that varies according to the locality. And you've seen so many times people there, oh, and they burn, right? Well, if people like to do these things, what are they really participating in? People say, well, the idea is to have a good time. No one cares about the stories behind it. But don't you realize that what you're doing is participating in something that Satan loves and seeing how you are making a fool of yourself? Well, this is how Satan enjoys himself, because he knows that as long as these things are done, there will be no good there, but demons will be there more than ever. And here the topic continues to advance, the 5 elements and their relationship according to traditional Chinese thought. Look what a curious way all this is arranged. You see? Wood, water, fire, metal, earth, the elements. And what disposition does it have? A 5-pointed star. There's no need to talk about that anymore, right? We've already talked so much about it. But, well, everything is based on exactly the same thing. It's all a matter of what? Of worship to Satan. And they, most of them, don't even know it. You just have to see elements. Heavenly creature. It has an equivalent, right? Wood, the blue dragon. The dragon, who is it? Symbol of who? Satan. Fire, the red phoenix. Phoenix? That bird. What happens to it when it dies? From his own ashes, is reborn. A symbol used by Freemasonry, right? It is the immortality of the soul. It's the same. Earth, the yellow dragon. Metal, the white tiger, a beast that also appears in the Bible as precisely what? As one of the powers that did not come from God. That doesn't mean that tigers are bad, huh? It's in any animal, but under symbols. And water. Pay attention to this. The turtle. Black snake. The obvious snake thing, right? But what about the turtle? Remember that in a conference, I don't remember how long ago, we showed some images taken from the Museum of the Jews in Girona, where there was a little drawing where a turtle appeared. In a body, there was a human body and there was a turtle. And you remember that in one of the conferences we also showed something that was in Rome, like a square that was like a turtle. What is that? The turtle is the symbol of the ground, the floor of the Masonic board, black and white, those squares, that everything is laid out like that, distributed. It's exactly this place where something is going to happen, understand? Where something is invoked there, something is done. Everything related to what? To the snake. Well, all this is put here, and for them, this is so beautiful and so nice. How sad. Someone needs to tell them that this is not from God. Look at this other question. Dance are the 5 elements and the animals. The 5 elements or 5 movements. The nature of life and death. If one acts against the law, he suffers from illness and misfortune. If you accept it, you enjoy good health and physical condition. Yin and yang, spring, summer, autumn or winter, are the beginning and the end of all things. Bam. Once again, lay out the famous 5-pointed star, and look what we highlight here. The theory of the 5 elements can be complex at times, but at the same time, when you understand it, it is naturally logical, following the natural laws of the universe. Each element is related to the others, and their interrelation is necessary for everything to work. When something fails in communication, or there is stagnation or emptiness of a function, stagnation appears, and if it persists, then illness. There is a relationship in everything. By the way, look at the photos on the right. You perceive certain shapes, hey? Even what you see below on the right, is it a drop, these circles? We will show this later, but not today. Through different techniques in traditional medicine, with acupuncture, massage, and qigong exercises, energy flows to rebalance the energy system. With movement, we unblock these channels. The mind and breathing connect with the energy and archetypes of each element, in harmony with the laws of nature, medicine, and meditation in movement. It all goes together, right? We are all that. In its personal practice, he seeks and connects with wild nature. When he develops that inner warrior that gives us the strength and courage to face life. With deep self-knowledge of our purest nature, it is a contact with the elements, the mountains, the ocean, the rivers, the animals and all living beings, the rain, the wind, the stars and the macrocosm, where we connect with our microcosm, and we can feel part of the whole, united to each particle of the universe, discovering that we are all one. Does this sound familiar, that we are all one? What did Jesus say? That we should be one, as he is one with his Father. Satan always plays the same game. What is globalization teaching us? Precisely that. That's truly we are all one, because what I do is going to affect everyone, and therefore we must be governed by one law for everyone. Each animal is associated with the elements and concept of Taoist philosophy. There are different currents and styles that associate different animals with each element. The important thing is the act of invoking. Oh well. And connect with the energy of the being. Let its spirit invade us and bring out that instinctive warrior and that original being connected to nature. Well, come on, let's invoke, guys. Once again, the same thing, and all to receive that energy, hey? Forming a creative and therapeutic dance and personal growth, from the precise technique of the style to the search for the natural and spontaneous movement that arises after invoking the totem animal. What's things, hey? Well, nothing. There are mandala-type drawings, hey? This is not missing. And here you have how the horoscopes are distributed. In the middle, what is there? The sun, the king star, right? Then we see spring, summer, autumn, winter, little numbers. You see with the 12, of course. And finally, what is there in the last of the spheres? The zodiac. The entire zodiac, put in the form of what? A circle. Round. Energy. Fluidity. Energy of who? From the center, from the sun. Who? From Satan. All astrology, in truth, is based on what? In Satan. All of it. But okay, come on, let's look at the horoscopes, eh? Let's look at the horoscopes. In other words, let's put ourselves in the hands of Satan. How sad. Holism. What's holism? Holism is the idea that all the properties of a given system, for example, biological, chemical, social, economic, mental, or linguistic, cannot be determined or explained by the component parts alone. The system as a whole determines how the parts behave. As an adjective, holistic means a conception based on total integration, facing a concept or situation. The general principle of holism was concisely summarized by Aristotle. You see where all this comes from, hey? In metaphysics, books he wrote after physics, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It can be defined as the treatment of a topic that involves all its components, with their relationships invisible through the 5 senses, but equally evident. The senses, see? Now we enter another section, but based once again on the same thing. It is used as the third way or an approach to a problem. Holism emphasizes the importance of the whole, which is greater than the sum of the parts, property of synergy, and gives importance to their interdependence. It tries to be presented directly as an axiom for the new approach that is proposed to be solved, and sometimes it is not presented as a hypothesis. This is its main validation problem, to see if it has the properties of the scientific method. Well, now what appears to us here? Notes for a holistic eco-spirituality. Spirituality is a certain mental, vital attitude towards human existence, in the sense of ultimacy and radicality. Everything in the background is focused on what in spirituality? But spirituality only has two parts, either God's or Satan's, there is no other. And what do you have here? Well, you see, there's symbols, once again the same shapes, rounded, yin, yang, etc., etc. They are talking about what we understand by spirituality. Well, here they give their explanation, and you see that it is full of everything that comes from Satan. Look at what we highlight from here. Point 5.4. A holistic spirituality is a spirituality of unitary experience. This means that someone feels one with all things, and this is especially important in the ecological sphere. Does it sound familiar to you, the importance of ecology lately? Why is it? A holistic eco-spirituality means understanding oneself experientially, not only in theory, intellectually, as one with nature. The bird and I are one, just like the tree, the mountain, the river, or the valley. There is no dual experiential separation, only in the intellectual and verbal. Almost nothing, eh? I remember that creation on a previous day, God makes the animals, and then what does he do to the human being? He makes the human being, right? And are they one? No. They are two different things. And what does God say to the human being? To rule over the animals. That does not mean to mistreat them or to kill them. It means to rule over, to dominate. He is the king, the one who is above all creation. Not here though, everything, bam, the same thing. Feel one with all things, also at a mineral and objective level. It does not imply denying that there are specific singularities and differences. All of this, like a symphony, constituted the diverse voices of the only orchestra of life and the cosmos. Does this remind you of Star Wars? Strength is in everything, strength unites us. Well, basically that's it. In the same way, for the balance of the entire planet Earth and the cosmos, it is necessary for human beings to experience that unity with everything that surrounds them. That is the basis for compassion, love, the deepest solidarity. How beautifully they paint it, which sees no difference between oneself and the beings around one. Thus, it is possible to reread the evangelical story of the Good Samaritan. Oh well, they even use the Bible, hey? The words and parables of Jesus to make things fit for them. In that sense, the figure of Saint Francis of Assisi, for example, can be paradigmatic of a holistic eco-spiritual attitude, and there could be others. In our opinion, this characteristic is the most definitive for an EC. Thus, we would link with the vision of James Lovelock when he talks about the planet Earth as a superorganism, the Gaia hypothesis. How does everything turn out, hey? And come on, watch documentaries and things like that. Why do we have so many documentaries and so much history been made? They are very beautiful, many of them. What do they introduce to us when they speak and present the documentary? All these concepts. Well, not always, thank God. We could extend this and speak of the cosmos itself as a universal organism of which we are part, and we are the cosmos. You remember that Carl Sagan too, right? In that Cosmos series, many years ago I was a child, and that program, that man have remained as a milestone. Well, analyze what that man believed and you will see that it is more or less all of this, same thing. And the article continues, you see. Recognize the universe cosmos as the body of God. It would allow us to radicalize, to go to the root of all spiritual ecological practice. Hence the accusation by some ecologists that Judaic-Christian thought favored the destruction of nature. From the text of Genesis 1:28, in which God wants man to dominate over the entire earth. The verb used is a heavy verb that indicates dominance, subjection, slavery. What mixes, of concepts? Well, here it goes. And now you see this Holistic Kinesiology Consultation in Madrid, Pozuelo del Arcón. What symbol did they use? The triskel. You already know what it is made of. We've already been talking about it. Therefore, holistic kinesiology. What is it also linked to? More of the same. Description. Well, the topics to be discussed in the holistic kinesiology consultation can be emotional, fears, anguish, anxiety, anger, depression, structural, muscle, bone, joint, metabolic, nutritional, environmental, pain, etc., etc. Overall, more of the same. A problem can be solved in a single session or in several, allowing yourself to be free and independent. My foot. They don't say that, but I do. Allowing yourself to be free and independent. A lie. You enslave yourself to Satan. Satan always tells us, forget the law of God and you will be free, huh? That's always the concept. And here you have more of the same about the therapies they use. What do you see on this page? The letter Om here in the middle, and once again the mandalas for a change, all more of the same. And look now at this, Introduction to Buddhist Practice with SGI. The Victorious Life. This is taken from a pamphlet which a person gave me who was precisely attending this and practicing it. Excerpts from the Victorious Life, SGI USA booklet, intended for people new to Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism. You know, it's a pamphlet that I kept. A person gave it to me. She precisely attended the recording of one of these conferences here, and she told me that she did this. Well, I told her 2 or 3 things. We had not presented all these topics by a chance. We had started with this. And I remember that I kept this pamphlet, a double page, folded. And I remember that, you know, sometimes you read things a little bit on the top, lightly, and keep it to yourself. Because inside, one sometimes feels things. It's logical. That happens to all of us. And I thought, keep this to yourself. Someday it will come in handy. Well, I guess it happens to everyone. I kept it, and in the section I have in a closet for future conferences, which if you saw it, you would start laughing at how full it is and how few I can do. Well, I always had that brochure there. I put things there, but I always, don't know why, I would take the pamphlet and put it on top. But I didn't look at it anymore. And one day, I began to deal with these lectures on Dimensional Gates. And, well, I remember on a night when we were starting to present these topics, relatively maybe 3 weeks ago, you see that we've been doing quite a few things on this topic. And I noticed that something was telling me that I had to get up and get that pamphlet. And I did it. I got up, I looked to pick up the pamphlet. And now you will see what appeared on that brochure. That I probably, if I had read it carefully at the time that person gave it to me, or a few days later or weeks later, I would have not perceived the importance of what it said there. But thank God for giving these conferences, from which I myself have learnt a lot of things that I didn't know. We will see what it said there, and you'll see why sometimes God makes you keep things to yourself. You know, sometimes people keep things to fix things in their house, right? Look, this little nail will come in handy one day in case I have to nail a painting, and the nail stays there for 80 years until in the end you either use it or you don't use it. I remember that my father was one of these people who kept lots of things in a basement, and there was everything there, and in the end only 4 little things were used, and the rest things were junk and more junk. That's what women find so little funny, you know. That men keep things in the end and they don't use it. But anyhow, I remember that when I picked up this pamphlet and started reading it, I couldn't do anything other than talk to the person who also helps me so much at these conferences. And I said to him, "Have you seen what it says here?" When I showed it to him, he was as amazed as I was, because now we understood much better why all this was there. Let's see it, and you'll understand perfectly what I'm talking about. The catalyst for experiencing this inner revolution is the practice of Buddhism, as taught by Nichiren Daishonin. It provides us with immediate access to the unlimited potential inherent in our existences, and by which we can succeed in life. Does he say for our existence? No, he speaks in plural, so what he's talking to us about, of reincarnation, okay? There is unlimited potential inherent in our existences. Thanks to that, we can succeed in life. Let's continue seeing what this brochure says. I haven't put everything, okay? I've made an extraction. Buddha is also me. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not Buddha. Although the word Buddha conjures up images of a particular person from history, or perhaps someone from some world religion course that we may have done, it is also a description of the highest state of life we can achieve. Buddha means the enlightened one. Does this remind you of anything about the Illuminati as well? Or the one who has woken up? And the historical Buddha, known by the name Shakyamuni or Siddhartha Gautama, discovered that all human beings have the potential for enlightenment, or Buddhahood, in the depths of their lives. You see, Buddha, enlightenment. Once again, we are focusing on the same old terms that Satan always likes to use. Who was the light bearer? At first, Lucifer. Therefore, if you receive that health, you become, well, an enlightened person, a Buddha. Well, here are some words. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. You will say, what is this? Well, let's see. The basic prayer we invoke, wow, again, is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. This is the name of the mystical law that governs life eternally throughout the universe. Nichiren Daishonin revealed this law as the fundamental principle within the highest teaching of Buddhism, the Lotus Sutra. All life is an expression or manifestation of said law. So when we invoke words of this mystical law, we harmonize our lives with the perfect rhythm of the universe. The result, an increase in life force, wisdom, mercy, and good fortune necessary to face the challenges presented to us. The meaning of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is as follows. And here it begins to say, Nam is devotion, Myoho mystical law. It continues. And here it tells us, Myoho Renge Kyo is the title of the Lotus Sutra. And it contains its essential meaning. Nichiren Daishonin added Namu, abbreviated to Nam, which comes from Sanskrit. You know, people who move in these areas talk a lot about Sanskrit. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is the ultimate invocation of life, often known as the Buddha language. There is no requirement or rule as to why one should invoke the mystical law. We simply make the decision to begin invoking all of this, and in doing so, we experience the energy and wisdom to achieve a full life through an invocation of a series of words. You remember the word Om, right? Which also was used for something, okay? Well, look now at this. Does this remind you of something biblical? What is Jesus? The verb. The word. What does Satan do? Imitate, once again, with the word. What does Kabbalah, Jewish, do? Satanism, in short, the same thing, through words. A translation to give us a quick idea could be Nam, I am a devotee, Myoho of the mystical law, Renge of the Lotus Soto, Kyo through my voice. Through my voice. Let's remember the matter of vibrations, etc., etc. Lotus Sutra, the lotus, you know what it is also in its forms. Everything is linked to the same thing. Take a look now what comes out of here. The Gohonzom, an inner self. Once people begin to experience the benefits of invoking all of this, they may decide to commit more deeply and begin to have a more complete Buddhist practice. After beginning to practice Buddhism, the first milestone is receiving the Gohonzon, the object of veneration of Nichiren Daishonin, Buddhism. The Daishonin inscribed his enlightenment in the form of a what? A mandala called Gohonzon. You see how it is related? And if I had read this a while ago when they gave me this pamphlet, I wouldn't have known much. The believers invoke all of this, inscribed in the form of a parchment, which they religiously preserve in their own homes. Parchment. How is a parchment rolled up? In what shape? A spiral way. In the Gohonzon, Nichiren Daishonin graphically represents his enlightenment or Buddhahood, the enlightened condition of the universe, in a graphic way. The important thing is that the same capacity to manifest enlightenment exists within each one of us. And when we merge our lives with the Gohonzon, by invoking all of that, we establish a connection with that condition of enlightened life that is our own Buddhahood. Well, this is weird, isn't it? For this reason, Daishonin refers to Gohonzon as a mirror of the inner self. How did he capture that mirror? Throughout what? A mandala. It is a way of looking inside ourselves to begin to modify what we don't like and to strengthen what we do like. Through mandalas too, of course. We have the potential to manifest different conditions of life, which arise when we come into contact with different external stimuli, the senses. For example, maybe someone is fairly mild-mannered, but another person may say something to them that causes an explosion of anger. This fit of rage was dormant until it was provoked by the environment, so that our potential for the highest life condition in our Buddhahood arises. A stimulus is also required. When we develop our conviction, we come to see that the Gohonzon is the most positive external stimulus, and that invoking all this in front of it constitutes the internal cause that activates the latent state of Buddhahood in our lives. Where do you have to invoke it? In front of what? Have you seen? Invoke in front of it. Once more, invocations in front of something, and also even with circular shapes. What are they doing? Opening gates. To whom? To God? Quite the opposite. Each Gohonzon is enthroned on an altar in the home of the person who practices this Buddhism, in a place where it is protected from the daily routine of the people who live there. And this is a Gohonzon. Here it is. An altar placed in this way. And of course, the Moji Mandala Gohonzon, or the Gohonzon Mandala, is the main object of devotion. The mandala, once again, gate open to Satan. More explanation about the same thing. Here's the statue of the founder. What is in his hand? Something rolled up, right? Parchment, a spiral, coiled. You remember a biblical text? Then later in another conference, when we have practically finished this series of conferences on the Dimensional Gates, we will talk about how Christ comes, about what happens to the heavens. The sky is rolled up like a scroll, and the gate is opened for Christ to come. Christ, God Father, and His angels. Now what do they do with rolling up a thing like that, hey? Open the gate, because you have to invoke so as someone to come, God? Quite the opposite. And here you have what is placed behind this sheet that is written here in all these signs. It is the invocation. Mandala, once again. Well, we are going to stop here in today's conference, and the next section, God willing, the 11th part of the Dimensional Gates. Who was going to tell me that this would go on this far? And what can I say about you for enduring so much? We are going to talk about Spiritism in its most classically known aspect. I think that until now the people who have been watching the development of these issues will have realized it clearly, of who is behind all these diverse ramifications. It's not God, it's Satan. But we haven't seen all of it. We will mention some things that we have discussed today in a future conference because we need to talk about some additional details as well. But well, be clear that the next one is going to be precisely something that is going to relate everything that you now see in this image with something that we have also discussed before. And we are also going to see the aspect of all this that takes us to Satan. But careful, God warned us of all this and gave us a very clear series of instructions that we cannot discard, and gives us a light of truth to know where things are, whether in God or in Satan, and that we be cautious. You will see, I don't know if in the next conference, a series of quotes, texts and quotations from Ellen White that will certainly not leave anyone indifferent, even those that now can be immersed in these things that we've seen so far. Well, may God help us to be sincere and to seek Him wholeheartedly, because we are going to need it more and more. Thank you very much for your attention, and until next time.